For my final video, I'm going to be talking about how to create a positive association for your horse with the bit and contact. I believe that the start of creating a positive association with the bit for horses has to do with bridling, because if horses make a pattern of being bridled or unbridled, with avoiding the bit or being uncooperative, it only enforces the thought that the bit is undesirable for them. I believe that once a horse knows how to have a bit put in its mouth, it should be expected to take it respectfully regardless of its age. And here's an example of bridling that I think is just about perfect. You can see here how she has her head at either wither level or below, which is where we want it, and how she actually will turn her head towards me to pick up the bit on her own. So you teach this by first teaching them to lower their head off of halter pressure from their poll, and then you tie the halter around their neck up near their poll so that you can move them into those positions before and when you're bridling them, and that gives you the ability to kind of manipulate their head where you want them and releasing them there enough times that they actually seek that positioning because they think it's a place of comfort. You can see right here how she gets distracted and tries to sniff the ground, so I respond by pulling her back into the position she should have been and then leaving her alone. And again, this is because you want them to think that there's like a floor and a ceiling and they need to find that place of comfort between that. A big reflection of a horse's relationship with the bit is oftentimes seen during unbridling. And what will happen a lot of times is the second that they feel you starting to take that head stall off behind their ears, they'll raise their head up and attempt to get the bit out of their mouth themselves. You can see in the video that my horse doesn't do that here, but if she were to do that, the way you fix that is by just keeping your hand where it is while you're taking the bridle off and only removing it when their head is in a good, respectful position that's either at wither level or below their withers. This will teach them to not try to evade the bit. This next exercise will directly develop the horse's relationship with contact and teach them that the bit is not a barrier or any reason to get claustrophobic. To do this exercise, you want to be walking forward on your horse on a casual or loose rein, making sure to not be in the gray zone or have any unnecessary contact. I don't do a great job at showing this on my colt, but ideally when you're in your neutral rein position, you don't want to have any contact. Then you want to pick up contact or concentrated rein while you're walking forward and ride on that concentrated rein for a few strides before opening up your fingers and letting it go through your hands. Essentially, this is an approach and retreat with the bit. And what we're looking for is a horse that doesn't do anything like shortening their stride, changing their head positioning, or maybe lifting their head, or showing any major signs that they feel claustrophobic from the concentrated rein. For us riders, it's really important to be aware of what we're doing with our body during this exercise. It's super common as riders for us to subconsciously lose the rhythm in our hips or start getting tight. However, since we're supposed to be directing the energy and the motion through our seat, we want to make sure that we stay as neutral and give a clear example to the horse of what they should be doing. The next few moments in this clip show the end result that this exercise is supposed to bring out in the horses. You can't hear it in the audio, but my horse blows out, licks her lips, and thinks about stretching down, which is the ultimate result of relaxation and confidence in the bit. In this clip, you see me doing the next step to that exercise, which is to do the same sequence, but at a trot. You can see right here, my horse got confused and thought that contact meant to slow down. So I pushed forward my seat and gave her a loose rein when she was freely forward. I immediately check back in and pick up contact and give her a casual rein when she shows me that she's committed to staying forward. And this is just to drive home the fact for her that reins do not necessarily mean to stop her energy. Something to point out is that this exercise does not have to do with the actual flexion of the horse's head, as much as it has to do with teaching the horse to have a calm and confident response to a concentrated rein. Unfortunately, my horse has already been taught vertical flexion, so she's being a very good girl and trying. However, this exercise should be done before ever asking for vertical flexion, so that is not necessarily what you are releasing on. At this point, the horse has most of its homework needed to start teaching it the beginning stages of vertical flexion and collection. However, there's some other things to consider before teaching your horse it. These include the fact that your horse needs to be able to be ridden almost entirely off of your seat, If you have to use the reins for control and you try to teach the horse a vertical flexion, you'll end up manhandling them instead of using them how they're supposed to. Reins should ideally only be used for shaping and balancing the horse's energy rather than controlling it. Another thing worth noting is that if you do not have good impulsion from your horse and your horse is not freely forward and off of your legs, you won't have any impulsion to shape. So it's important that vertical flexion and collection should be some of the last things on the training tier when it comes to young horses. By taking the time to perfect and work on these two simple but very important exercises with your horse, you'll find that you have a horse that trusts the rider and ultimately the bit. This will pay off when your horse is easily able to go into more finesse kinds of riding without the resentment towards the bit or contact that higher training levels often bring. Thank you for watching.